Today on the podcast, I had Kathleen Adams. She is fantastic. You will love her. She is in the financial service industry and felt like opening her own company called the Second 50 Financial. And she helps people make the most out of the last 50 years of their life or the second half of their lives. Um, just because they have more time, right? And they have resources, and life is getting longer, and health is important. So she set up her own firm to be able to offer the services she feels are best. And after talking to her, I think you'll feel the same. So enjoy time spent with Kathleen Adams on the second half of our lives. Okay, what's the name of your book?
My book is called Second 50. So
Okay.
Second 50 came about because I don't think people should ever think about the second half of life. And I work with mostly boomers, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s. And their mindsets are, no matter how wealthy they are, they're just in a different place. So I realized, and a lot of it came through Dan Sullivan, because he says the same thing, that when you get into a place and you think you're on the decline or on the down half side of your life, you're not going to be able to do everything that you could do. And I want them to have an amazing future. I want you to use their wisdom and their wealth. So I wrote Second 50. There's 3 phases to it. It's financial confidence. You have to have that in your Second 50. And many people are not working, right?
Right.
Second 50, financial confidence, and then it's opportunity expansion. So is there a little something beyond golf and grandkids and travel that would light up your day? Have some ideas around that. And then the third, though, is vitality enhancement. So because of Coach again, I'm in an affinity group. I'm like getting blown away, Jenn, by the stuff that's out there that can help us feel better, no matter what your age. Like, it almost seems like science fiction. It's so great.
No way. Okay, what's one thing?
Well, one thing is I'm using something called OsteoStrong, and it's a 10-minute routine at a training center. They use bioenergetic. It would be too hard to explain, I think, on a podcast.
Okay.
But that's one thing. It's called OsteoStrong. It's like, it could be life-changing for a lot of us. And then the other thing I'm just exploring is peptides, and I'm working with somebody named Reagan Archibald.
I'm familiar with familiar with OsteoStrong from the standpoint of keeping like your bone structure strong and things like that from being a female. And as we get older, we can start pulling from those resources, and we want to make sure we don't. And then I know
true.
Like this I'm a health nut, right? I love all things. I have a hyperbaric chamber at my house. Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Good for you. That's so awesome. We have a Vasper. Have you ever heard of the Vasper?
No, what's that?
That Dan Sullivan introduced me to about 5 years ago. It's a machine that uses technology from space. So what they had to use for the astronauts, and you wrap yourself in cold compression, and you get on sort of a recline and push, but it tricks your body into thinking that you've done, a 10-mile run. With the compression and with the way they have you doing intervals, it's 20 minutes long.
What?
Yep. And then
I'm
you get
signing up for that program. Are you kidding me? I don't have to be 50 yet, right?
No, look up Vasper, but it's very, very expensive machine, but they do have it in some locations. But then you have a cooling bed that you sit on afterwards. So half my downstairs little family room is the Vasper machine and the cooling bed.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Yeah.
You know what? When we feel good, it's easier to do good, right?
Totally.
And it's so important to focus on. When I was in financial services, like I loved helping people with their money and challenging like where they were saving and what they wanted to make happen and what that brought them alive. But as I got into it further, you realize like if they don't have their health, it doesn't matter how much money in the world you have saved or set aside or put towards it. And health is just like, it's the key to all of it.
It is. And it's, and being healthy in the Second 50 people, if they don't, they could be healthy, but if they don't believe in that, They don't have that kind of vitality, that get up and goes part. You need both.
Right.
And you have it, you have total vitality. But a lot of my group, it's just one of those things that I've seen over the years of working with people is, it's not there for a lot of people.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
They're just assuming what they hear in the media and, from friends and
Right. They're just living the conditioned story that's been fed to them nonstop.
exactly,
Right.
exactly, Jen. Yes.
Yeah. And it's
Hmm.
so important to question that story, because when we question, we have a chance to choose different. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Okay. So
Oh,
you were working in the financial service field for a long time, and then more recently broke out and started your own firm.
right. So,
Okay.
yes. But I'm still in, financial planning.
Right, right, right. So tell
Mhm.
me, like, what pivot, like why that happened, and why, like, what made you say, okay, now I'm doing this and changing a little bit. I mean, I know still in the same arena, but you hung out your own shingle.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was that we believe that our industry, the world has taken a paradigm shift, right? Especially after COVID. The markets are wild, people have changed, but our industry has not.
Mhm.
So when you're working in a firm, you're going to be, in my view, just pretty much stuck in the realm of whatever they feel is the right way to help clients. Whether it's the investments or the type of planning that you do, or certain parts of your services. And we kept butting heads with, we don't agree. We believe that the next 10 years are going to be vastly different than the last 10. And we
Mhm.
can't rely on the way we used to do things. So we have taken a major shift into utilizing real estate. We're looking into much more elaborate methods of using life insurance. And it's just, in the traditional realm, it's stocks and bonds, right?
Right, right.
Portfolios and distributions. And we're shifting, so we needed all of that change. And no matter what we did and tried to talk, we went through two different places.
Oh,
So I went,
wow.
mhm. And we thought we had it made about a year and a half ago, but they're just, no, they wouldn't open the door to certain things, like a 1031 exchange,
Right,
right?
right, right,
So
right,
they have a
right.
1031 exchange private fund with Jones Lang LaSalle now. We
Okay.
have all kinds of clients with beat up old properties that they don't want to manage anymore with low basis. You know,
Right,
it's a
right.
brilliant solution. So then, that, and then I wanted to expand Second 50 into opportunity and vitality. I want to bring on resources, platforms. I want to do workshops. I want to have events. Um, and it just doesn't fit when you're in the world of somebody else's compliance and firm. You
Right,
know, you kind of have to, excuse me, stay with the program,
right,
so to
right,
speak.
right, 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 right. So you decided to start your own program. I love it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's been like almost 2 years in the making now.
2 years in the making, but our last move was 3 months ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
I love people that say, no, this is what it looks like. You comply or I'll continue. Right.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yep. We
Yeah.
have to stick with where we are driven from and know that that vision has been planted in us for a reason. And so our job is to bring that vision to life.
It's totally true. Jen, can I just ask you briefly, because I read a little bit about you,
Yeah.
what yours was an accident, right?
Yes. Yep. So I had, I mean, I wish it didn't have to be these wild, life shaking events, but to me, sometimes I can just lock and load and not listen to the whispers of the universe. So I
Hmm.
think I needed to be woken up by a massive car crash. It happened to me in 2018. I was in the financial service sector then, and
Yeah.
then kind of stepped out a little bit to raise the kids, right? Which is the nice thing about that field. You can step in and out and do your magic. When I got into that car accident, and I should not have lived, right? They built 50 different scenarios. Not one of them did they have a way that I was going to survive. And I did. and you almost have this, I don't know if survivor's guilt's the right word, but you have this like, I'm here, I shouldn't be, but I am. So what does that mean? And you really go into this deep dive of, why am I here? What's my purpose? If I don't get to choose when I leave this planet, I sure get to choose how I show up. And I better start taking that responsibility a lot more serious, because life truly is a gift and I'm being silly about it. Like like it just brings that to life at such a level that you can't ignore it. And it took me like all of 2019 to really just say, okay, I'm here. What am I here for? I'm here. What am I here for? I'm here. What am I here for? And that entire year, I kind of called my year of awe, because everything that happened was just so magic, right? Like before, if I had my two sons fighting, I would try to get in the middle of it, like, don't fight, come on, like, let's find a happy ground. And then after that accident, I was just in awe that they had such conviction over what their opinions were, and they're trying to convert their other person to that opinion, and how beautiful it is that they were so passionate about whatever that thing was, that it wasn't about the argument, it was about the life that was in them that was so convinced, right? And it
Yep.
just changed everything. And then I got in 2020, when COVID hit, we went to Hawaii we got lucky. I timed it right. We went to Hawaii and we did our quarantining in Hawaii and our homeschooling in Hawaii. And one of my sons was complaining about his math homework. I'm like, listen, buddy, we do hard things. You've got this. He's like, well, if we do hard things, then why aren't you climbing Mount Everest? Because I was training for a mountain to do on my 40th birthday, which is in 2020, which was a mountain he hadn't heard of. It was Ama de Blam. So to him, that wasn't a mountain. And then when he challenged the door on Mount Everest, this is what happens, right? You look at it and you're like, okay, well, maybe this is a good idea. And then my kids went to bed and I got more, I'm like, that idea kind of took over. I
Oh
said,
my
yeah,
God.
I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Like, let's do this. And then from there, when you're in your zone or when you're in your thing, like doors just continue to open, and they just continue to open for me. And now I am 2 summits shy of setting a Guinness World Record of being the first female to climb the 7-second summits. And I honestly can still wake up every day and pinch myself and say, this is my life. Like, this is me. This is what I get to do. Like, this is amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing. You
It
must have been really
is.
athletic and strong
Yeah, I'm
to
lucky. I
begin with.
did have like an athletic, then that's funny too, right? When you look back on your life, you can look back and say, oh, wow, this is why I like these sports, or this all makes sense now because all these sports combined worked out to be a really good mountaineer, which at the time, who would have known, right? I had no idea.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
but your story is pretty unique too with your father, right? That kind of got you into this field.
Yes, it
Yeah, so
did.
let's share that because I like that story.
He he's just and I probably didn't know this well enough till he was gone, but he was a very, very successful dentist.
Okay.
And he came out, he had a scholarship to Northwestern University and a scholarship to dental school. And he just started from the ground up and he built this amazing dental practice, fearless, just put a shingle out and set up the office. And he created a business that was just absolutely remarkable for a solo person. Tons of cash flow. He had 4 daughters. He treated all of us, to everything. We had a magnificent life growing up. There was nothing that we didn't get. We wanted, but in a good way.
Right.
Promoted education, paid our colleges. He did everything right, except what he planned on doing as he got older, because he loved dentistry so much and the people loved him. He would just stay in the practice and work a couple days a week. And his health took a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to be the kind of problem that would not allow him to practice dentistry anymore, but he was going to live a long time, or potentially. So all of a sudden he said, I've got my office building, I've got all this real estate, I'm going to do fine, but it didn't work. So I guess I looked at my super successful dad and said, how in the world did he practice all this time and make all this money, have no debt? He owned real estate And it's not going to give him the lifestyle he wants now that he's getting out. So that's when I went back to school at UCLA and went into financial planning. So I've been practicing dental hygiene with him. And long story short, I was supposed to be a dentist as well, and I just didn't want to.
Yeah,
But
fair.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted, but I went back to school at UCLA and studied planning, and I was able to really help him. But I thought, how does that happen when you have a banker, you have a mortgage person, you have your CPA, right? And your insurance. But the right hand never looked at what the left hand was doing for him, so it didn't work. Now, when I figured that out, I also realized I was married. My husband, Mike's an orthodontist. So
You stayed in the
thought, well,
dental realm on one
we're in the
level.
dental realm, and we're just like, whoa, what are we doing? But what was really fun, Jen, is that after my dad got out, he wasn't able to live the lifestyle he wanted. So he immediately started brainstorming what else he could do. And he never stopped. And he ended up having a lower leg amputated.
Oh,
It
wow.
still didn't stop him. He still traveled the world internationally. He went on some speaking and conferences. He worked with the Dental Society. And on the day that I drove him to the airport, visiting me from Illinois, California, I drove him, and he was talking to me about our new next venture that we were going to do together. He said,
Oh,
now that you're a successful planner, here's what we're going to do. It was pretty cool, actually. But I put him on the plane, kind of hard for me to say, and he passed away on the plane on the way home.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he lived life up to the end, and he was flirting with the flight attendant, by the way.
Of course, I love it.
So he was my inspiration. It was like, why? And he was already in his early 80s. Why do so many people, when they get into this time frame, kind of give up? And I'm not saying that you have to go out and start new businesses or do big things, but why can't you think about the second 50 years of your life towards an amazing future versus this is a second half, haven't got much time left.
Right.
So that was really my inspiration first to go into planning. And then honestly, when COVID hit, I had been thinking about doing something else beyond the normal investment world. When COVID hit, and I was inside all the time, like everyone, right?
Right.
The whole planet shut down.
Yeah.
It stopped me from doing all the crazy stuff, running to meetings and professional groups and luncheons. And there I was, and I was sitting there thinking, and I was thinking, I'm not doing what I love anymore, kind of like you said. And
Right.
there's so much more that I believe I could do for people in the second 50. So, yeah, so we were in the process of making a move. And when we made the move, I laid out the criteria of how I believed our practice needed to be able to run. I needed outside business activities, and we made the move during COVID.
Good for you. I love it.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's funny
Also,
about COVID, right? Where some of us took it as this great opportunity to reset, and
yeah,
some of us were paralyzed by it, right?
completely right.
Yeah.
And this is also where somebody like Dan Sullivan came in to lift everybody up and say, look, this is a place where you're going to need to make changes, right? Because your
Yeah.
business is disrupted, your life is disrupted, your family's disrupted. So, yep. So it was at that time that all this courage came in. And, I think you find when you're in your day-to-day life, you don't realize how strong you are, right?
You just become numb because it's the routine, and it's
Mhm.
hard to even recognize because it's hard for us to step out of it and look in. And I feel like COVID gave us that chance to step out of it and look in, and then say, is this my purpose? Is this my intention? Is this what I want my obituary to say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I feel like that I was watching it among my friends, some of my family members, definitely my clients.
Yeah.
Where did the joy for life go? I see the joy when they're traveling or buying a new car
Right.
or sometimes golf tournaments, but it's a different kind of joy. And what I wanted to see was a spark for life again, that you felt like you really did have some life left to live. And I think you can only do that. To me, I think you need to be thinking, but if you're not going to do that on your own, I think you need a little community to do that with.
It helps. I mean,
Mhm.
community makes such a difference in everything that we do. I don't know if we really give it as much credit as it deserves.
Right. So what I would call this, what I'm now focused on, my passion is the second 50 movement. So I want to bring people together, small groups, workshops, like-minded people. Um, let's talk about what you have an interest in. I mean, I have probably 10 clients interested in animals and helping animals and dogs, right?
Right.
But nobody's really doing anything except maybe writing a check at the end of the year. The boomers are the largest, wealthiest, most highly educated group to ever move into this age group. And I believe we could do a lot more for a lot of things for ourselves and the world if we had a chance to explore it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
So,
that's where community comes in. Community comes in and gives you permission to do these different things. So for me, when I decided to sign up to climb Everest, I actually went to my kids' school and I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be gone. I've never been gone for this amount of time. I just want you all to know so that you can just keep a little bit closer eye on the kids. And if they're a little off, maybe give them a little bit more leeway because this is going to be a different environment for them. And the school came back and said, hey, let's do a campaign. Let's have everybody in the school put up their little Everest hiker and say what their Everest goal is. And you come in and teach about goal setting. And then when I was at base camp, I called into the school and I talked about to the different classrooms. They asked me questions and I could answer them. And so then my whole community stood behind me, which then empowered my children. It allowed me to be present where I was. And it just made so much more possible because of the people I was around. Right. And when you can set up,
unbelievable.
I mean, it's humbling. It's humbling. I didn't go in there with that intention, but here's the deal. If you at least go in there and share and you're willing to be vulnerable, or you're willing to say, here's where it's going on, here's where I need help. I mean, think of how much we love to help people. Think of how hard it is for us to ask for help. But when we do, it's magic. I mean, it's pure magic what happens.
That is incredible. The fact that the school came up with that idea to work alongside you, that's going to change those kids' lives,
Oh, it's
right?
amazing. Like, I'm still known
Yeah.
as the mom that climbed Everest, right? Wherever I go,
Oh,
they'll come up and say hi. And I love it because I always say, you can too. When you're ready to climb Everest, you let me know, right? It's awesome. And so when you work with people that have interests and you can find ways to give back or to include,
yep,
everybody wants to be
exactly.
seen. Everybody wants to participate. I know for me, some of the best advice I've been collecting over these last few years on this new adventure has all been from climbers and people who have been in the industry that have done it. And they'll share their, it's so much more than writing a check. It's sharing their story. It's saying, hey, here's something to think about, or here's what happened, or here's how like something I did that helped. So an example that I got from somebody else was I bought all the kids candles when I left. And in the candles, they got to pick out the candle, and then we actually printed some sticker labels on them so we could decorate the candle any way that they wanted to. And then when they had a wish to send me, they could light the candle, say the wish, then blow the candle out, and it would send the wish to me. And I grabbed that from somebody else. That was somebody else's idea. And my kids love it, right? It's been such a fun way for us to connect when I'm
I
far away
can't.
distantly.
I'm going to take that, Jen.
Yeah, it's
That
good.
is, I mean, I can't believe the sparkle that things like that bring into people's lives,
It
right?
does.
Those kids. I mean, I can't even imagine a classroom doing that. And that's really awesome. That's really awesome. I guess I guess what I'm thinking is that you sort of epitomize exactly what I was talking about, because when you went to climb Mount Everest, you weren't just going to practice and read books and do some training. You were going to be around people who had done what you want to do, right? Or were
Right.
trying
And
to do the same
that's a
thing.
shortcut, right?
Mhm.
If I would have had to figure it all out by myself, from the books, from the reading, from guessing the training, one, you don't have that confidence because you're making it up as you go. But when
Right.
you can bring in people who have been there, it just, it's Dan Sullivan's who, not how,
Mhm.
right? Who can I have that can help cut out the how of figuring it out?
Totally. Because that blocks people all the time. And I feel like my second 50 group are still sitting there with ideas and visions and things that they want to do, but I'm too old, right? And I feel like if they could be even a small group, excuse me, with like-minded people or experienced people, or a little bit of a facilitator who said, yes, I've done that. We could do something like this together. But yeah, that's exactly the concept that what you're doing is exactly what I would love to do with people in that age group.
Oh, I
Mhm.
love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Well, you're creating that for them. So that's amazing. What was
yeah.
your biggest concern about stepping away 3 months ago and saying, nope, this is more our path and this is what we need to do?
I mean, that was, that's a good question. Well, we had already made a transition. So this was going to be a second transition for them.
And people who don't know, in the financial service sector, the amount of paperwork that's involved to do a transition is mind numbing. So when you walk into that decision that you're going to make this transition, you are committed 110% because you just walked into endless work to make this thing happen.
Totally. And it's something that actually requires you talking to people, because it's a big thing. You can't just hire people to go and do this for you, right?
Right.
But I think, yes. So what worried me the most was just that people would be unnerved by the fact that we were doing this again, feeling maybe something was wrong. We have worked so hard to build a wonderful group of clients. We really know them all. We don't work on volume. And that was our big thing is, will they be able to come with us and feel confident in us when we make this second change?
Mhm.
But we built the whole thing on relationships. We built our business on relationships. And for the months prior to the move, we got with everybody, really listened to them about what they liked and didn't like about the way we were working together, explained what we were going to try to do, and it went.
It
So
went.
yeah.
And see, the key here that I'm taking from this story is you went and you had a little bit of fear and a little bit of thing, not for yourself, but for those that were with you and that under your charge. But you put that fear in the passenger seat and you continued forward knowing that I'm driving this. Here's where we're going. Here's why. And the fear is going to be there because I don't think it's ever not there in things that we pursue, but it's just making sure that fear doesn't have the microphone, right? Making sure that it's okay. You can be along for the ride, but you're going to learn that you're going to be in the back seat pretty soon.
Once again, perfectly put. That's exactly what it is. It's right there, coming
Yeah.
into the office, looking and trying to feel confident. But yes, there is that there. But you're also right. It drives you.
It
Uh,
does.
yeah, because the status quo drives me crazy. I think I'll always trying to be doing a little something outside the box.
Yeah, and it's so easy. Like I was this mom who was home with my kids, which society says is fantastic. right? I mean, I have 7 children. Of course, I'm gonna be at home with them. There's a million things that are being pulled in a million different directions. I run a small logistics company, getting everybody to all their activities, right? But when
Yes.
I got into that car accident, all of a sudden I realized that when I check out by myself. Like there's only like it's only me that leaves. It's not everything else that leaves. And I woke up and said, I'm gonna do me and these other roles that I have. Because at first I was gonna launch the kids, get them into college. And once they get into college, I was gonna get back to the things that made me excited. And not that being home with kids isn't exciting. It's just for me, it's not as fulfilling. I needed to do more to have my bucket filled so that I could be the best mom I could be. And here was probably the biggest lesson is when I started doing me, I thought I was going to get a whole bunch of resistance and setbacks from my kids and we were going to start falling apart. We actually stepped into the best season of our lives so far. I was lit up. And what I remember now is when you're inspired, you inspire. And when I said, I don't want to do this workout today, but I have to, I was living life in parallel with them. You know, they have homework to do that they don't want to do, but they have to. Like the good things in life come after the hard things. And
Wow.
it's just changed our entire family. And I'm sharing this story now because you being you, whether you're under the 50 line or over the 50 line or first phase of life or second phase of life, the best gift you can give to yourself and the best gift you can give to those around you is you doing what lights you up, because by doing that, it gives everybody else permission to do the same.
Totally. And that's in my book,
I
almost
love it.
almost word for word, that being inspired it just drifts over into other people to inspire them. And I think being female and being my age, Jen, I get a lot of pushback where people are, oh, you should just relax. You don't have to work now. Why don't you just do this, or stay home or come with us and play golf? So I have to be inspired to go forward because it isn't really the norm around me, if you know what I mean.
Of
Right.
course not. Of
And
course
yours
not.
probably wasn't either because with your huge family,
Right.
they're
I have a
looking at
lot
you.
of kids, and you get a lot of pushback, right, from the
Mhm.
outside because people can only look at it from their lens.
Right.
And so, here's another interesting story that came up, and it was a hard one for me, but one of the mountains I needed to climb was in Antarctica. So Antarctica's summer is our winter, right? So December and January is the summer of Antarctica, and that's the only time of the year that you can climb. Well, the second highest peak in Antarctica is a mountain called Mount Tyree. And I had been begging this company, allow one person to climb it a year. So I've been begging this company since the beginning of this journey, like every month. I want to be that person. I want to be that person. I want to be that person. And I said, the only thing I don't want to miss is Christmas. Like Christmas is the most important holiday for my family. We love it. I want to do it, but I don't want to miss Christmas. About this time last year, they called me and said, hey, Jen, we're going to let you be the person that can climb the mountain this year or have the attempt to climb the mountain this year. But you need to be down there December 18 and you'll be back around January, like whatever, the first week of January. And I almost said no right there. Like, no, that is not okay. I told you I don't want to be gone during Christmas. Can we bump it back or bump it up or do whatever? And they're like, these are the dates. It's the only time we can make it happen. You need to decide. Well, I had a meeting with my family, the kids, and my kids know that we have State of the Union meetings when it is everybody's opinion matters, right? There's certain decisions in our lives that have to come from mom and mom makes them and there's no debate. But there's other decisions in our lives that like where we go on vacation or where we want to go that everybody can kind of vote and say and share. So I pull together the family and I say, okay, one of my mountains is this mountain in Antarctica. And I actually got the permission to climb it, but I'm thinking of not climbing it right now because it's the time that I'd be gone is over Christmas and I don't want to miss Christmas with you. And so I'll just have to figure out how to fit it in. But you all know I'm going after this goal. So this is going to postpone the goal or it's going to, mess up our Christmas plans. And my third oldest son says, Mom, you've always told us that Christmas is a feeling, not a day. Why does it matter what day we celebrate Christmas? Why don't we celebrate Christmas early and then you can do your trip and both things happen? And oh, and then my youngest ones are like, does that mean we get 2 Christmases? You know, like the kids stuff, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? That could work. So the kids and we like sat down. I have a live-in nanny that I used to nanny for. She's been with us forever. And I said, okay, let's just play with this idea for a few days to make sure it's truly everybody's on page and everybody feels it. And it was, I mean, that was our consensus that we were going to celebrate Christmas early and then I was going to go climb this mountain. So having that conversation and that tight knit like decision as our family, when I started telling people outside of our family who had different views on that story and said, I don't think you should go, this is a bad, all the things that were negative, it didn't
Mhm.
bother me because I knew the important people at the table were all on the same page and we could allow other people to have different opinions because what mattered most was covered, right?
Correct.
And so when you're making these decisions for yourself, it's very important to one, honor that feeling, include the people that matter most, and let everybody else be noise.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's important to me to have the feeling of freedom that I can do that. I think some people feel a little more trapped that they can't make those decisions, but I do not feel that way. And I think working has helped because obviously you can earn your own financial freedom, right? Doing
Right.
what you do, which I've done. And I made a decision this summer within 2 weeks. I have a daughter who lives in Denmark and she's having a baby. She was feeling very lonesome, just had the baby this week, as a matter of fact.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But she was feeling very, very lonesome, and we could sense that, she misses the family. We're extremely close family. And I made the decision to go to Denmark and surprise her for her baby shower
Oh,
and took my sister with me. And I thought, even 5 years ago, that wouldn't have been me. It would have been too last minute. It would have felt too, what's the word, wasteful to just take a trip like that so quick. But you know what? It was all about like for you, your family loved you so much. They wanted you to go, and I loved her so much. And I thought that's all that matters, right?
right.
It
Right.
makes the decision easy.
It
And
does.
yeah.
And we're so silly about little decisions. Like I'm going to hit on this topic that you just touched on, where I had to go to a dinner party this week and I had been running ragged all day. Like everything's been just accumulating. And by the time it was time to leave, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have all this stuff still. And I decided, I'm going to take an Uber. It's gonna be $20 Uber to get there. And then I'm gonna be able to sit in the back seat of the car, make a few more phone calls, not have to worry about parking and traffic and have my mind engaged in one more activity. And I literally I was debating on whether it was worth the $20 Uber because that was wasteful because I didn't really need the Uber, right? Like it
Right.
just didn't fit my paradigm. And I got to that restaurant and I said to that I'm like, thank you so much for driving me tonight. And I walked in and I'm like, that was the best $20 that I spent, that for some reason I was having a big debate on whether it was worth it or not. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of going to visit your daughter, going to do these different things, we have this automated thought process, but that doesn't mean we can't question it and be, no, this $20 might not, it gave me so much more freedom and so much more time and allowed me to be who I want to show up as versus the stressed out, crazy human that I was heading down that path.
Totally. Yep. And I'll join you there because I've started taking Ubers to all kinds of places and meetings that I would have never done it before. And in the last couple of years, it's kind of one of my take a break places. I've literally taken it to meetings that were 45, 50 minutes away and going to be in terrible, terrible traffic. And I thought, nope, I'm not going to ride that way. I'm going to bring a couple things that I want to work on in the back seat and a couple things that I'm going to read. And I've been doing that steadily now. And it's been worth every single dime to get there like that. Yeah.
Love it. I love
Really
it.
good.
So good. Okay,
Hmm.
so how many grandbabies do you have?
Four grandsons now.
Ah, 4
And
grandsons, all
four
boys.
grandsons. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is
And
crazy.
they're just like the light of my life. It's so different than your own children.
I hear this.
Um,
My mom says the same thing. She's like, "I loved you, but I love my grandbabies." And it's so nice to just love on them and not have that, as a parent, you have this responsibility of, am I being too nice? Am I being too hard? It's just a different role for
it's
sure.
a different role. It's you, and you're going to have so many
I know.
probably, right? So it's another reason, and that's what I wrote about in my book. It's kind of like, don't you want your kids and even your grandkids to see you doing things well into the later years in your life where you are still excited to get up every day, or you're sitting at the table, like I'll sit and brainstorm with my 7-year-old grandson about an idea he has for a doggy tent, you know, to that you could carry with you on trips. And I said, that, maybe we could put something together. But that's what I mean. It's sort of a keeping a really big open mind about what your life could be, and then sharing it with the kids and grandkids. How much will they benefit, right?
Right.
You know, because how many times do you think grandkids especially ever see their grandparents setting goals?
I think it's amazing. I like makes my heart so full. I just love it.
Mm, yeah, so I think it matters way more than just like what we're doing for ourselves. And like you love your family. I adore my family,
Yeah.
so I'm making things better for them. But I haven't climbed any mountains.
Hey, we all, metaphorically, you've climbed plenty. Okay. So some of us do them in the physical and some of us do them in the metaphorical, but I think we all have mountains that we have to get over and stories that we limit ourselves by and just start to get curious about life and
Mm-hmm,
what,
mm-hmm.
what we want to do. Especially like the nice thing about the stage of life that you're working with people in, I seem to think is they're past stressing about the mortgage payments, right? They're past all the balancing acts of getting kids to college and all that kind of stuff. So now you have this time that you get to utilize how you desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem is for many is when we get into a place where you don't have to work and you're not working, the freedom is delicious at first. So you're, wow, I don't have to get up at any time this morning. I don't have to dress a certain way. I don't have to deal with any of it. And so I'm going to enjoy my day and go for a walk and have some coffee and take the dog. But what I see what happens with it then is that the routines are nice, but they're sort of there to fill up the space in the day with all this freedom.
Right.
And then it also helps you feel a little more productive because you have your own schedule, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so that's another place that I begin to see a problem is that freedom in the second 50 years um, is not something you are energized to create in or use productively because you've done it the first 50.
Right.
Does that make
Right.
sense?
Well, yeah, no, I do think it makes sense. And it's learning how to, if you did all of that so much that first 50, then the second 50 is the complete opposite. So almost in total, they're balanced. But now you're
Mhm.
so unbalanced here
Yeah.
that it's learning that, oh, you know what, maybe there's something in the middle. Maybe there's somewhere in the middle that I can find a way that, because I have found when people are retired and they don't have something to contribute to or something that they're making an impact on that they can visually see consistently, their energy shifts.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can always, I mean, when in our spot, we're lucky, right? When people walk into our offices and you get to look at them, you see so many different ways of doing 50 or so many different ways of doing 60 or so many different ways of doing 70 and 80 and 90 or whatever. And it's just, I mean, like my grandma's in her 90s and she still plays bingo. She goes to like, I mean, it is just fun to hear her stories and what happens. And she still has storage units of saving things because she still collects things and she gets all excited when she's found something that she's been looking for. And I just love her stories, but that's because she's engaged. She's still contributing.
She's excited about something. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to change in our world now is that there's a massive, just a huge regenerative medicine revolution. And what I'm learning is it's really going to be changing the world and our world's economy, because the breakthroughs, the things that we're learning, the things that are already here are beyond anything any of us could ever have imagined. I mean, it's kind of like, for me, thinking 20 years ago of what an iPhone would be like today,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
It's the same thing that's going on with medicine, and it's basically gone to not just anti-aging, it's gone into age reversal.
Mhm.
So as they bring some of this out, there's, potentially in a lot of our lifetimes, there's going to be really, really the ability to live a lot longer.
And
And
not even longer, just like more life out of the days,
for sure,
right?
quality, a much more
Quality of
quality of
life
life.
is just so different compared to, I think, what I mean, we all say it, right? All of a sudden like when I was 40, I'm like, wait, this is what 40 feels like? What I thought 40 would feel like and what 40 feels like is entirely different. I feel like I'm 20, just 20 times over again, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. And you'd be surprised, you're walking around looking at yourself and you go, wait a minute, how old am I? Um, and so what we're finding out, and it's the things that are happening, I guess I can't really describe because there's so many right now, but they're in clinical trials and they're coming out and available in such a rapid force that if we could help people understand that if inside they're still feeling as young as you and I feel, whatever age we are, right?
Right.
That we are actually going to be able to adjust the outside as well. So we're going to be able to stay healthier. We're going to be able to look better. They have things on the market. They're already out that are regrowing hair.
Oh, wow.
I know. And the and the energetic level, what they're able to do with cells, will be so life changing. So I'm trying to tell people that I understand if you don't feel very good and you're not feeling very mobile and things are starting to happen, but would you be willing to open your mindset? Would you be willing to write a check? Because a lot of things that could help you are not going to be covered by Medicare or insurance right now.
Right.
And see what might happen. So that's another area we will be exploring for Second 50, bringing resources and ideas and people.
Oh, that's so good. I'm so
Yes.
happy that you're doing this because as a pioneer in this field, you know that you're going to set the path and there's going to be settlers because you're leading that way and showing other people what's possible. And I think all of us are missioned with that, right? We're all missioned to do what we do because it lights the path for others to follow and makes so much more possible. And the easier we make things be, the more energy they have to do something else with.
Right. Yep. And it's not something that you have to dive into and change your whole life or your lifestyle. But if you could participate and you found some benefit from doing one thing, maybe, or two things, then like you said, that's going to light the way to move forward and do more. And when I talk to people about things that I'm doing, I'm walking my talk.
No,
So I
you
am already
are.
doing,
You can
yeah,
feel it in your energy. And here's the thing that I want people to listen to. Neither one of us are exhausted. Like it's not this like overexerted, I can barely survive and I'm sliding into bed every night, right? It is this
right.
balanced energy that just keeps reviving ourselves and showing up every day because it's that cycle. Like you give, get, you give, get, you give, get. And you need to put energy in the system to receive energy out of the system.
You do, and you need to be with other people.
Yeah.
Don't try to do this alone. Be with other people and be willing to be with all age groups. Because the other thing that I love is that younger people, they can be a reverse mentor for you.
It
Right?
is true. I like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else that you would like to share with the audience today? I'm going to fix this light.
I would just say if anybody feels a little bit interested, inspired, or has an idea, I'm just constantly looking for collaborators. So I would love to, have a Zoom conversation, talk to other people about their ideas or maybe something they're doing, at any time. And I, I feel like my best, like today, Jen, with you, I got more ideas. And
Yay!
I think that's where it comes from. I think it's building our little relationships, communities, little workshops, conversations. So I'm all about that.
Perfect. And where can our guests best find you?
Probably the best. I'm on LinkedIn if they're in business and they're on LinkedIn, so that would be pretty easy. And I have a my email, my website, so that's probably the next best thing. Um, and the website is just www.second50financial.com.
Okay. You got
And
that, everybody. www.second50financial.com
and
is where
it's
you can find.
SECOND 50.
Oh, I like it. The number 50. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today. It was so educational and just fun to see somebody making so much happen and not letting age just be a number. It's not defining who you are, and it shows in everything you do, and it makes me so happy.
Thank you so much. If nothing else, please don't think about your second half. Always think about your second 50.